who was conducting efforts in DNA analysis for medical purposes. And the British cops realized they could use it. So they approached him about it. And it first began in England, and then eventually worked its way to the United States. And eventually kept advancing. The science of it keeps advancing, where it becomes even more damning than it used to be. But 91 was the first time we ever used it. It wasn't used in the United States until 1990, so we were about a year behind with one particular case.
Joe, we have a question here at about your 1 o'clock.
Good morning. I was on, this is my second Kenda Cruise. And last year, I spent quite a bit of time talking to Andrew, and he said that one of the things the casting director was looking for was a person with no hair. But it looks like you have some.
Hello.
And I was wondering from the both of you, what was the most frightening case you worked on when you thought you might lose your life?
When you're an officer, you always encounter different circumstances. It was harder in patrol because you went in blind, you went in cold. But when in homicide, we knew what we were going for, we knew where we were at. A lot of times the scenes were already secured, most of the time the scenes were secured. And when you're chasing a suspect, you're doing it with an army sometimes. So I don't think homicide was any kind of concern to me. I did interrupt a burglary in progress with a guy with an arm with a shotgun. That became a little hairy. But generally, it's just like tactical enforcement. These guys train together, they're going into a known situation, there are risks. We just minimize the risk. How we minimize the risk is training, education, knowledge, experience, and communication, working together. So I can't really tell you I have a case that really bothers me that way. They all had that potential because you're already dealing with murder. And most of them don't want to go to jail for life. So it's there, but you're just overwhelmed sometimes.
And I agree with everything Brian said. There was one particular incident. I was a young patrol officer in 1974, 100 years ago. I was working the streets, working day shift. Dispatcher says, "See the man, this address. Somebody's breaking his windows, broken a criminal mischief complaint." So I stumble up to this door, I happen to sleep, I got a clipboard in my hand, I got a criminal mischief complaint. Guy jerks the door open at 6-12 gauge double-barrel shotgun on my stomach.
Oh my God.
And no vest and none of it. It didn't cut me in half with that gun. And I'm looking at the gun, I'm looking at it, I got a clipboard, I can't even draw. I mean, it wouldn't matter, I'd be dead before I could get a gun out. He proceeds to explain that Martians broke his windows. The guy's crazy as a bedbug. I stood there and talked to him for 20 minutes. Until I finally convinced him I was on his side. That I've had this problem with little green men. And I said, "Really? Yes, I have." And I said, "I need that shotgun to protect my place. Can I borrow it?" "Sure," he says, and he gave it to me. I threw that shotgun across the street. I was so scared. I threw that shotgun. I could do that again out of there. I couldn't throw that far. But I threw it down. I went the other yard across the 4-lane street. Oh God, that scared me. But yeah, those things can happen when you, and as Brian points out, when you least expect it. Patrol is blindness. Investigations, the threat is known. The threat's there. And you know it's there. It's known what you're going to do. But a broken window complaint? Holy smoke. I imagine talking about it, I couldn't believe it. I thought that took 3 weeks. It took a few minutes.
Question at 12 o'clock up here. I was wondering, why do so many high-profile cases, why are they botched? Like the O.J. Simpson case, the John Benet Ramsey case, and so many others that make the television.
I'll answer that because I was in that position of pressure. humans operate in police departments. When profile cases pop, everybody knows this is the big one, you know, here comes an army of press people. And sometimes people overreact to that. They say things they shouldn't say, they do things they shouldn't do, they're responding to the pressure of the moment. And normally when a case goes awry, it goes awry because they're emotional as opposed to remaining unemotional. And that is a direct human failure of reaction to the pressure. You cannot allow the pressure to drive your case. I never did that. I didn't care about the press, I still don't. I tell police departments this all the time, and I talk to them on occasion around the country now. I say, you know, the press is currently hates us, and they have bigger fish to fry at the moment, so we're off the front burner right now. They haven't heard too much about us in the last few months because they're busy yelling at everybody else. We'll be back to the front burner. We're kind of in the middle burner right now, but we'll be back. And I tell them all the same thing. You should be concerned about what you think of you. If you look in the mirror every morning and you like the guy you see, and you like what you're doing, you're fine. The press are nothing more than voyeurs. They hide in the shadows and they whisper. They do not participate. They are not part of the solution, they are part of the problem. And they are undeserving of your respect. And what you should do is ignore them. I would ignore them. I would drive them crazy because I enjoyed it. They would say to me, is he a suspect when you're putting something in a car? He's assisting us with our inquiries. What does that mean? I don't know, but it sounded really good. You know, it sounded really smart too. You know. I had a reporter one night, a young girl from a TV station with a camera guy, you know, and she says, "I demand a quote." And the camera guy's an older guy. He like rolls his eyes. You know, I never saw this kid before. He was like 20 years old or something. You know. I said, "Did you say you demand a quote?" "Yes." "Okay, turn your camera on." The guy didn't turn it on because he knew what I was going to do. I said, Alexander Pope said in 1891 that journalists are unprincipled swine. Put that on your television news. You know, she just said this. And the guy said, the camera guy started laughing. He didn't turn the camera on. It's too bad he didn't. I mean, you know. So the answer is that people respond to the pressure. They do dumb things. And the management gets involved and they do other things that aren't very smart, and here we go. You know, that's it. It just spirals. It goes out of control. That's what that in most cases do.
I'll add, it's not always suppressive. You get these high-profile cases, Dominic Ramsey, a few others, where staff gets involved. The staff thinks they know what to do in this case, and yet we're on the ground doing the case. They don't have the information, but they want something done. It's just sometimes that happens. Not very often, but it's enough to screw things up, or at least make it more interesting for a while you're trying to work the case. So it's not always the press. Sometimes, I'll admit, the press was to our advantage. Sometimes you could use it to your advantage. Other times, you wanted to throw overboard.
We have one more question about 1 o'clock.
Thank you both for being so candid to all of us that fans and cast members and the talent that you use in the sets. I'm one of the actors that does some of this stuff, true crime reenactment, and we try to make it appear as the sets change from time to time so that it does look real. And we try our best to do we follow what you tell us to do. And it is amazing to watch it and to be here and hear how candid you are about the stories you tell when we go back on set, we want to make it real. And it's not a painted up story, it's not a make-believe story, it's real stuff. And it's just amazing, the crimes and stuff, and the different things that we do on set that portray the stories that you tell. And we just thank you for being so candid about it.
You're welcome. Neither Brian or I know how to be any other way. Neither one of us are political, and neither one of us are. You ask me a question, I'm going to give you an answer. You may not like my answer, but it'll be the truth. I spent a lifetime, and so did Brian, talking to liars. We can't be one. We can't be one. Now, you don't have to like me, you don't have to like what I say, but you want an opinion, I'll give you one. I will give you one.
One more question here about people.
This will have to be the last question, by the way.
Gentlemen, you have both spoken very negatively about the press and how much you dislike it. And I have to say, the other day I met Ann Urban.
Oh, of course.
And
Annie loves me, though. It's
she
different.
speaks very highly of you. So
I know she does.
explain that. Because
I can. Annie Urban, I call her Annie, everybody else calls her Ann, but Annie is a journalist. Honest, smart, truthful, never, ever embellishes anything. Catherine Sosby, who is a print reporter who's also appeared in the show, is a journalist. Smart, truthful, right on the mark. Sandra Mann, the same way. I have absolute respect for those three people. I have no respect for the institution. I have respect for people within it. Annie Urban was remarkable. And the first time I ever met her, I don't know if she's in here or not, but she'll remember this. We killed a guy, a SWAT call up on Robin Drive, the guy that was the sheriff of the neighborhood, you were there. And that's the first time Ann Urban showed up as a reporter for Channel 11. And I see this little blonde elbowing her way through the cops and yelling at everybody, demanding to speak to the person in charge. I said, well, who is this? You know, and it was her. And I said, it was just cute. You know, she's like, are you in charge? I said, well, as a matter of fact, I am. Oh, well, in that case, she's very nice. And it's really struck me funny. I instantly liked her, but she never once put a word on the news that wasn't true. Or wasn't appropriate. And I would use those three people on occasion, as Brian pointed out, to our advantage. We made an arrest in a murder case where long story short, a guy convinces his girlfriend to murder his wife so they can live together and be happy ever after. And I arrested the woman first. And I wanted her boyfriend, the husband, the bereaved husband, to know that I'd arrested her. He wasn't in custody, he was out with his family, you know. So I called Annie Urban. I said, hey Annie, I need you to do me a favor. What? Lead story on your news? What's that? I've arrested a woman in a shooting death of this victim. A woman? I said, oh, no problem. No problem. So she does, she lays it out. First of all, the guy's uncle called me 30 seconds after the news broadcast was on. And he said, I'm very distressed. That guy was, his uncle was his self-appointed attorney for this guy. He said, he's very upset. You haven't contacted him. You haven't told him about who killed his wife and so on and so forth. And I said, well, sir, tell your nephew I will be in touch with him as the evening wears on. And there's silence on the phone. We go to the house to see this guy, and his lawyer answers the door. 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, well, you're keeping late hours, Dickie. This guy's name is Richard, the lawyer. You know, well, my client will be making a statement. That's fine. He doesn't need to. Where is he? Yeah, he's under arrest for first-degree murder. Oh, yeah. So yeah, you can use it to your advantage on occasion. But those three people I have absolute respect for. The rest of it, nope.
Later on, when I was watch commander, I did a lot of work with the press, just because, you know, they're interested. They have a job to do. I understand that. Most of us understand that they have a job to do. Some of them are a little too eager in their jobs. But as a watch commander, they'd call up and tell anything about this call going on. And you'd share a little information, which you probably share. And you start building a rapport with some of them. Others, they're just obnoxious sometimes. And some of them will come in and talk to you. In one particular case, I shared information. I'm going, oh, I was supposed to share that. So I called him up, hey, you know what I told you? I said, I wasn't supposed to share that. And he canceled, he didn't use it. Because I built a rapport with them. You have some rapport with some individuals. You use that to your advantage, to their advantage also. When you have something, you're willing to share it with them. When you don't have anything, you tell them the truth. You can't baffle them with bull. You just got to tell them the truth. And it works out really well. It is a two-edged sword, because sometimes they'll come back and bite you. You can trust somebody 100% and then have them bite you in the posterior end. Other times, they'll support you 100% and work with you. So it's tough, and sometimes you don't have time to build that rapport. But you're in the middle of an investigation on the crime scene, and they're coming up and asking, well, what happened? Who got died? You know, you can't say a whole lot more. Because you don't have all the facts yet. You don't want to share anything, and you don't want to be the guy that screws up the case in court. So you don't talk to a lot. I did a lot of work with major accidents, and the same thing. You go out there, they want a statement. I know they're doing their job. You help them out a little bit, you start building that rapport, you see the ones you can trust, you see the ones you don't really want to deal with, and you use it to your advantage. And I say your advantage, it's actually the community's advantage, because what we're doing is for the community.
All right, well, we're out of time. Thank you very much, Detectives Kenda and Rick. Afternoon session. How did you like this morning? Yeah. You know, there's a really nice mix of, for the new people who this is your first Kenda Cruise, you heard some things that you, well, for the new people you heard almost all new. But for those of us who are repeat offenders, we heard a lot of new stuff that we didn't know before this morning, which is cool. All right. Especially if you've been to Joe's book signings too. I mean, he's got a lot of stories. Buy him a drink tomorrow at Jimmy Bubba's Margarita. I'll tell you some really not fit for. He kind of kept it clean because there were some kids in there. There's some stories he could tell that are PG-13 and R-rated. Anyway, so who we have assembled up here are the Knoxville recreators, and as we mentioned, the first season was shot in Los Angeles, but after that, they decided to move to Knoxville for several reasons that you might want to ask them why they moved. You can ask Carl that too when he comes up, why they did seasons 2 through 8 now in Knoxville. So just want to introduce a few people. This is Gerald Edgell's first Kenda Cruise, and he works in Knoxville. He has a full-time job working in a retirement community, but then he does these part-time gigs on the side. And I'm actually going to, I'm sorry? Anyway, so he does these part-time gigs on the side. Welcome, Gerald.
Thank you, sir.
All right. And this is Cody Herrera. And you may recognize him because he was the witness on a recent episode that was the funniest of all the 100 episodes with the alien-looking guy. And the detective said, wait, his eyes really weren't that big, were they? And Cody says, yes, they were. So anyway, and this is the luckiest person here. She won the walk-on roll a couple seasons ago. Walk-on roll. So if you have some money to give her to take to the casino, her luck might still be going on. And this lovely lady is Alona Marina. Let's give her a And she's the one who encouraged Carl to audition for this part. Carl wasn't sure he was going to go all the way to LA, and and thank goodness for Alona. And here we have Brian Ritz's mini-me, Andrew Stevens, who they met for the first time yesterday. And if you're on my
my Homicide Hunter discussion Facebook group, I posted the video of them meeting. And then this gentleman you may not recognize because he looked very different as Mike Murphy in the episode. Remember, there's a tooth fairy. Mike, is there a blood fairy too? And then he later said that Mike had the IQ of a turnip. But this is a smart guy, so don't get into it. It was not sarcastic. Even more significantly, Jason Benjamin is also the stunt coordinator and fight choreographer, and he's going to teach our men's and women's self-defense class on the last full day of the cruise, so please come to that. And he's actually also our kind of head of security for our cruise, so if you have any concerns about safety or anything like that, let him know. And then we have an empty seat over here. What's this all about? I think there's another cafeteria. Can't think of. Oh, I remember now. No, I'm just kidding. I'll do this for the benefit of the new people. A few years ago, back before Carl Marino had 5,000 Facebook friends, couldn't take anymore. He and I became Facebook friends because I was a fan of the show. But he saw that I was escorting all these fitness-oriented cruises, like water aerobics, yoga, things like that. And he has some downtime on the set, so he would kind of like and comment on my pictures that I was posting. He said, "Wow, that looks like fun." And I'm thinking, here's this guy who's a big TV personality, and he has time to little old me. So then at some point, a little light bulb went off, and I said, well, the business model of what we do is called an affinity cruise. So we've been doing this for 20 years. So you have a group of like-minded people that have the same common interests, and they go on the ship and they do that thing. We've also done it for choirs, and there's also sometimes you'll see Red Hat Society groups, quilters, scrapbookers. You'll see all kinds of different affinities. And then they have, each group will have what's called a Pied Piper. We call them a Pied Piper. And those are people with a following. So here, Carl Marino now has a huge following on Facebook. He also has his own fan page, and he has his groups and things like that. So I kind of pitched him on that, and it just went to his other file at first, messages. And then I followed up with him, and he says, "I'm sorry, I get dozens of these a day." So, but I followed up and pitched it again, and he said, "Well, sounds great, but you have to talk to Joe Kenda, and then there's other people powers that we have to sign off on it." So anyway, but the nice thing was Carl was able to let Joe Kenda know that, hey, this guy's legit. He's going on the cruise all the time, and people seem to like these cruises. So anyway, the reason we're all here, the very first person to green light these Kenda cruises and think that it could work, Carl Marino. So Homicide Hunter.
Thank you very much. First off, I need to thank Joe Kenda. Without him, tireless devotion to seeking justice, none of us would be here right now. Thanks to Jim and John Seeley. Give it up for Jim and John Seeley, who organized this big group. Michael and Sheldon Ketty. I said it right, Ketty. The gift bags that you got, Michelle put those together. She does so much for the cruise, started to organize it and everything. But I want to apologize I wasn't around earlier this morning. I was actually up talking with the captain, seeing if you could hit a few more of those big waves. I didn't feel like you guys were getting the most for your money on this cruise. So he said he'll try a little later to make it a little more rocky. Well, yeah, here we are on our third Kenda cruise. Who would have thought that? The fourth one coming October. So I hope to see you all there. But anyways, I have to thank you guys. I mean, you're the reason we're here just as well. Without you watching the show, your support, your constant interactions and everything, we wouldn't have a show. We wouldn't have season 8. We have a season 8 coming up. Joe starts his part
soon after we get back, and once they get his interviews to the script writers, and the script writers get to us, then we start filming the reenactments in March.
Okay, so
Sure.
Okay, so do we have this microphone on?
Okay, so now I'm going to ask each person to introduce themselves. I just gave you a little headline, and they're going to tell a little bit more about themselves, what episodes they've been in, how they kind of got into that, and you know, it doesn't really pay that well. Like, here's Gerald, he has a full-time job, and you know, he occasionally does these roles, but it's a lot of fun. You get to see yourself on television, and so I'm just going to pass it down the line, and then everyone can talk about yourself.
Thank you. A lot of you folks I've got to meet over the last couple of days, help you get on and off the bus. And eat and drink and that kind of thing. We had a good time. And you've all been very kind to me. I'm Gerald Angel. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee. I've been in the business 2.5 years now. I average a show once a month since I started doing this. I'm blessed and I've had a good time doing it. I don't know what Carl and the rest of them have me doing the next season. We'll take a vote. Would you like to see me be a lawyer or a doctor? Or I've been a victim several times. And earlier, whenever Joe was talking about the different types of evidence, I was on one show where, just in case anybody does this, your lips have a print, just like your fingers do. So don't put a piece of paper in your mouth and throw it down on the body. We got one that was called Count the Bodies. And I was a victim in that, got shot. I was the only one that lived to tell about it. I also worked for Discovery and Jupiter Entertainment that does the casting and stuff. And one of the companies I work for called Gage that provides a lot of talent that does some of these shows. And they're a very good group there in Knoxville, Tennessee. We're growing. It just leaps and bounds. The sky's the limit, they tell me. So hopefully I'll do good in it, and the fans like you all and people support the companies. It's great to have you. Also, I do a show with Murder Calls, Murder Comes to Town, Murder Shows Me, Murder by Numbers, Inquiring Minds, America's Murder Mystery.
Pretty much anything with murder.
Well, thankfully, I was on the cast in the remake of Dirty Dancing. I was in and I don't dance. Another one I done was with the Burt Reynolds movie. It's coming out March 30th, I think. It was called Dog Years originally, and they changed the name to The Last Great Actor. So, how appropriate. But anyway, I've enjoyed it, and thank you all for all your support and for being good to me.
Hi everyone, my name is Cody Carrera, and as Jim said, I was on the episode Time Bomb. I played Adam White, the witness, and it was really fun. A little bit about myself. I was born in Florida, actually, downtown Fort Lauderdale, and I moved to North Carolina when I was 6 years old. My parents moved me there because my dad was actually a retired police officer. He worked for 35 years in Miami, and they wanted to retire to like a small town. My grandmother was from there, so we moved there. And I went to acting school in New York City when I was 16 because I wanted to be an actor and a performer since I was in utero. And I went there for a year, and I moved to LA. I went back to North Carolina after 2 years in LA and got my degree in communications from East Carolina University. I moved back, Pirates, go Pirates. And then I moved back to Los Angeles because I got an internship at a casting office, and I wanted to learn more about the industry and how it worked. And then I moved to Atlanta, where I'm based out of. And my resume I've done, the biggest thing I've done besides Homicide Hunter was I did an episode of the television show Glee. I played Coach Beast Waterboy, and it was really fun. We shot that in Long Beach. I did a few Disney shows, Lab Rats, Kickin' It, Secret Life of the American Teenager, and I did an episode of Sleepy Hollow, and a few things here and there. You can go on my IMDb page, and in November I released my first album called Fire, and the funny thing about it is I was actually shooting my first music video when I got the call that I was cast in Homicide Hunter, and I actually wasn't the first person cast. The person who was originally cast as Adam White dropped out, and I got the call the morning we were supposed to shoot, and it was I think it was like the day of the eclipse, so I was driving however long from Atlanta to Knoxville to go shoot because I had to be on set that night, and it was really, I'll never forget that, so I had to rearrange my schedule to shoot the music video, so I shot Homicide Hunter for 3 days and the music video for 3 days, and I literally shot all week and didn't get any sleep, but it was the best week ever. And I'm in the process of writing my own TV show, loosely based on my life, called The Life of an Art Student, so I'm trying to get that produced. There's a Facebook page for that, and yeah, so I'm really, really happy to be here. Thank you so much, Jim, for inviting me, and I'm happy to meet all the Homicide Hunter fans.
Howdy, my name's Diane Daly. I'm from Wilmington, Indiana, and as Jim said, I was the first winner of the walk-on roll contest. I had no acting experience prior to that, except in 3rd grade I did play the Virgin Mary. Christmas pageant. I had no lines, I just had to look kind of pure and confused because there was no room for it. So, but when I entered, because I watched Homicide Hunter from the very first episode, because the previews were fascinating to me. So I watched during this contest, and every week there was the clue that was shown during the commercials, and every week I would enter, and I never had any idea. I just was hopeful, but then I kind of forgot about it because the contest was over, and on Friday the 13th of this contest, I believe, was during October, November, and then in February the next year, on the 13th, I got an email that said I was a potential winner. So I was just absolutely thrilled, and had to do a lot of paperwork and get it notarized. And they kept saying, well, we don't know that it's going to be Homicide Hunter. It's going to be an ID network show. And I thought, but I want Homicide Hunter. I couldn't say, well, I'm sorry, ID, because Homicide Hunter not coming. So it turned out, I thought, well, Wise with Knives, maybe, I don't know. But it turned out to be Homicide Hunter, so I cried, honestly, when they called to tell me, because I just was so grateful and so excited. So Carl shared this story before, but we were, my friend Karen, who we met in college in radio and TV, although we'd never done any television, so I told him that that day we were running late to get to the set in Knoxville, and I was so anxious because I thought, they're going to really resent that anybody's coming anyway. So I'm coming from Indiana. What are we going to do with her? She's going to be in the way. We're on a timeline here and running late. Oh gosh, they're holding us up now. But they could not have been any more gracious or any more friendly from the moment we got there. They went out of their way, I think. Couldn't have been any more helpful, or they answered questions. We got to stay on set all day and ask questions and sit back and watch how the shooting was done. It's so interesting to see that side of it, because when you see the episodes, they're flawless. It just goes so smoothly, but there's an awful lot that goes into it before you get the finished product. And so it was just, we ended up going to a bar and having dinner with the casting crew that night, and just sort of bonded, I think. And I remember Carl saying, you're part of the family now, which meant the world to me, but I also thought, well, the year's going to come by, and another year, and that won't mean as much to them as it did to me, but then here I am, no updating orange trees, and it's probably one of the best things to happen to me, seriously, because they're all good people, and you know that just from how accessible they are, and how just ordinary people that are doing a job. So to be part, in any way, part of this is wonderful. So, and I had no idea I was going to be part of the panel discussion today, so anyway, thanks for listening.
Carl Brown. They joke in that house. I'm the guy whose name's on your shirts. Been 102 episodes. That's it? I'm from Rochester, New York. Yes. Cornell, New York. My cousin's here, so I gotta say the right town. It's actually Cornell, New York. It's about 60 miles south of Rochester. I was deputy sheriff for 17 years in Monroe County, which is Rochester. After that, I moved to California. I actually lived with my cousin for a while out there. Kind of fell into the whole acting thing. I never wanted to be an actor in my life, ever. But I love it now. I work really hard at it, and pretty proud of it. I'm just thrilled to be here. Jim was saying it before, so when you first come on these fan cruises, you're a fan. After that, you're part of our family. You can tell by all the people in this room who've been on all 3 cruises already. They're not on the 4th, and they're not friends and family. Like, we hang out, I see people in different cities. And I had dinner with Tony and his wife in New Orleans a couple years ago. Mike and Michelle, we hang out in New York. They're going to come out to San Francisco in October also.
All the way, baby.
So it's fun. It's fun. It's great getting to know all of you. You know, I haven't talked to you yet. Come talk to me. You know, I want to. I'm just happy you guys are here. Thank you again. Just a few things before you guys start asking questions. No, I don't smoke cigarettes. I know that I'm right-handed. And I don't wear mascara on the show.
Hi, so I'm Lona Marino. I'm born in San Francisco, lived in Southern California for a bit. So I've been on, so talking about Homicide Hunter, I've been on about 12 episodes, I believe. So you may have seen me as a coroner, a sketch artist, doctor, let's see, travel agent, Social Security, thank you, Social Security Administrator. What else?
And also coming up, not in the episodes you're going to see on Cruise, but the season finale, she's actually has a character name on it, so you'll see her in that one for sure. It's not a real big part, so don't get your hopes up, but she will be talking.
Yeah, but it's great getting a chance to work with Carl whenever I can. Obviously, I can't be on set all the time, but it's a great time, and everyone's just wonderful on the cast and crew. This guy.
He's okay.
Yeah, I'll take that as an intro, whatever. I'm Andrew, I play Brian. I don't like Carl. Not at all, I don't want to.
He loves me.
My dad wants his autograph, I still won't ask.
Because I told him I wouldn't give him the autograph for his dad unless he personally asked for it.
And I said, then I guess my dad's not gay. And that was a year ago, and he still doesn't have it. I've played Brian for 2 years now. I guess it's about 20 episodes, give or take. I'm from Atlanta. No, well, I'm from Indiana. I live in Atlanta. Yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm a professional actor. I'll answer a couple of Carl questions as well. I don't have background in law enforcement. I'm the only one on the show who really doesn't. But I am a trained actor.
And we're training as a police officer.
And yeah, it's weird. Brian Ritz is taller than me. Who knew?
My name is Jason. I'm the stunt coordinator, fight choreographer for the show. I get a lot of ideas for how we do the fights by watching these two go at it. They're brutal. So the company Jupiter Entertainment that produces Homicide Hunter produces several other crime reenactment shows on ID Network, Oxygen. I can't think of all the names of them, but I'm the stunt coordinator on all those shows as well. Typically, when they have something that they don't know how to do, like an episode where I don't even know what it's called now, the truck swerves real fast and rolls, I got to go out and do all that stuff. I think I did that like 2 days, or no, the day after I had passed out at home, and the doctor didn't know what was going on, and I'm like, I got to go to work and wreck a car tonight. So my wife back there was not real happy with it. But yeah, that's, so I play, I think Jim mentioned that I played a character named Mike Murphy. But they try, unlike Carl, like Andrew, I also am a trained actor. I did this for a long time. For about the first 10 or 12 years I was in this business, I spent more money than I ever made doing it, which my wife, who was an accountant, can attest to. That was awkward for a long time. Finally got a few good breaks and landed some pretty good roles, and I'm not going to go into the whole. If you're familiar with the website IMDb, look me up on there. Jason Benjamin.
You've definitely seen him. You've definitely seen him in other roles, projects that you know are pretty big.
So I've been very fortunate, yeah. So I'm kind of, I guess, a double threat. I can talk and I can also fall down. It's been working so far. Glad to be here. And so we've got this, the last day that we're seeing, we've got this self-defense class, and it was pretty successful. I think a lot of people enjoyed it last year. For those of you that don't know if you want to come or not, it's, you know, we're not going to be beating you up unless you want me to. But, be thinking about it when we get there. We can do whatever you want. I'm on your time. But if you would rather me kind of do a workshop on how I make the fights look real, and you all can bring your cameras, and I'll coordinate a couple punches and stuff for you and show you how we make everything look real without ever actually touching each other. I'll be more than happy to do that. That is awesome. Or I'll show you how to really hurt somebody if it doesn't matter to me.
Also, years ago when Jason was Mike Murphy, his hair was different. It was like curly blonde. That's why you may or may not recognize it. Okay, and then this next gentleman was played himself on an episode called Shot Through the Heart. He is based in Colorado Springs, and this is Tom Shiner.
Sorry I'm late. My wife was telling me something about the boat was doing this, and she's still not feeling well, so I was downstairs trying to take care of her. My name's Don Shagnon. I was a police officer for the city of Colorado Springs for a little over 30 years. I retired in 2016. Spent the last 8 years of that career working in homicide. Although I did not get to work with Joe Kenda in homicide, I did get to go out on a couple of calls while I was in patrol that Joe did an instrument of handling, i.e. Shot Through the Heart was one of them. For those of you that may not know, the gentleman from that episode, Charles Lindbergh, died this year, was involved in a fatal DUI traffic accident. He was the only one in the car. So as Joe and I talked about later, it's finally karma coming around to get shut. I worked 8 years in homicide. I handled over 100 homicides in that 8 years. That's about it.
Okay. Before we get into Q&A, I want to, because this is a nice segue into a question that always people ask on social media that I'd like Carl to address, and that is, why don't they shoot the show in Colorado Springs, or why did they leave LA? So Carl, you can talk about that.
Well, that's the reason we shot in LA. That's the whole Hollywood thing. Most shows don't shoot where they're based. It has to do with money. Our production company is actually based in Knoxville, so it's much cheaper to film there. And that's why most things filmed in the Southeast now, Atlanta, New Orleans, North Carolina. But it's just, it's a money thing. And most things you see that are set in California are shot in Canada. And it just boils down to, you know, we can pay your actors less and get you your locations.
Yes, exactly. I also heard that Tennessee is a right-to-work state, so if you go to Hollywood, you've got these unions where everyone, you know, it costs a fortune. Knoxville, it's a little easier. Okay, so what I think we'll do is open up for questions. If you four could please share that microphone, and if you don't have four microphones, we'll do the sides of the room like we did. If you four could please share this microphone. We'll just, who's got the first question? Anyone over here? Okay, this couple here. Okay, ladies first.
Do you recognize any of your own personality character you play as a younger Joe Kenda? You did a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you, and definitely. I mean, it's you go through a police academy, spend 17 years as an officer in uniform. You know how a police officer thinks, unfortunately. You pick up a lot of bad traits and good traits as well. But yeah, it definitely helps out. I mean, one of the first things Joe told me when I asked him, you know, how he thought I did, and Joe never critiques, never gives me advice, never doesn't even want to. But the first thing he said to me, he said, "I like the way you pull a gun." And to me, that was the best compliment you could give me.
Los Angeles to Knoxville, or did that kind of happen on its own?
Well, the glasses, no. The glasses are kind of a funny story. That happened the very first day of filming in Los Angeles. I walked up and the wardrobe lady held the glasses in her hand and said to the director, "So are we going with glasses or not?" And the director's like, "Yeah, I think they're going to redo Joe's interviews with him wearing glasses. So now I got to wear this pair of glasses and keep track of this pair of glasses for every episode, 14 hours a day. And I don't wear glasses, so they get dirty and sweaty. I keep forgetting to put them on. Every time I forget to put them on, they yell at the wardrobe lady, not me. And I feel bad because she's getting yelled at. And so that's the story with the glasses. And season 2, when I came to Knoxville, I asked, "Do I have to wear the glasses?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it." Because when they did finally show the episodes, Joe didn't do any of the interviews with glasses on. So anyways, but as far as season 1 went, I think it was shot really well. I don't think it was edited very well. That was part of the problem. Season 2 was 100 times better, probably a tenth of the budget. They did record all of my audio. They had 2 sound guys there. Why they didn't use audio, we have no idea. And it's obviously a lot better with audio. I mean, I was very disappointed when I first saw it. But it definitely had a lot to do with it as far as how the production company handled it.
Thank you. Okay, we have a question over here.
I was just going to ask, for the scenes that are like big crowd scenes or public scenes, how would somebody like just be a walk-on or just be in the background?
Usually they're people who come out of their houses to watch. Or the random homeless guy just riding his bike down the street. It's like, "Hey, you want to be on a TV show?" Yeah. And filming in Knoxville is quite the difference in filming in Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, nobody wants you around. Nobody wants you filming near them or anywhere by them. Knoxville, they want you to film at their house. They'll do it for free. They'll give it to you, and they want to be in the show. They want their cousins there, and their grandparents there. It's a lot of times you see a lot of our crew members where we have people. We need 2 or 3 people to walk by, so that's our grip walking back and forth in front of the camera. And the audio guy sitting in the corner. So, yeah.
Over here at 9 o'clock. How many hours does it take you to? How many days does it take you to film a typical 1-hour show?
It takes normally 5 10-hour days. If it's one of the double episodes, we usually stretch to a 6th day. But they go 10. They go 10 hours. We don't go over 10 hours because then they go into overtime. Then it gets really expensive, and they start scrambling in that last hour to get the last shots in. And the director, well, that's kind of a common joke on set that in the morning we're shooting Gone with the Wind, and in the evening we're shooting Cops.
I have a question for Carl. Are you coming to Michigan soon? I'll take you to dinner.
I might take you up on it. I fly through Detroit a lot, so.
Contact me on Facebook.
For Carl, you portray a man with a very strong but very subtle personality. Do you have trouble doing that?
Well, I don't think so. I'm not the one judging it, I guess. In my opinion, I honestly, I work really hard on not being over the top. Because it's all about the facial expressions, the looks, the eyes. And especially when the camera's that close to your face and stuff too, and it picks up every little feature. So you can't overdo it. And you can tell when people are overdoing it when they're overacting. And so less is more when it comes to TV.
Just to clarify, you do a great job, I think.
Thank you. Yes, right here.
Hey Carl, what's up? Lucy from Philly. I just want to know, you know the part when you go into the room where the crime scene has occurred, and you all of a sudden pretend there's nothing there.
Sherlock moment.
What is that all about?
That was something that was created by our DP, Dan Kelly, who films most of the episodes, not all, but he's fantastic talent. And he kind of came up with that idea by watching other shows that I won't mention.
So can you do me? Can you do the look for me? Oh, come on, let's get the look.
You'll see it in a couple days. But anyways, that is called the Sherlock moment, and it's actually a complicated setup. Because what they have to do is they have to shoot the scene dirty, like with the body or the blood or whatever else is in it, the weapons and stuff. So they set the camera up and they film that for 30 seconds just to get that plate. Then they don't touch the camera, and they clean everything up, and they reshoot it again.
Really?
Then they turn the camera around and put it on they put it on the dolly. But and so that's when you see me make a look, is that's the camera coming in, and that's when I'm looking it around. Usually I'm just trying not to make eye contact with the grips because they're making faces at me. I learned that pretty quick. Don't make eye contact with those guys. And then after that, they take the camera from behind and they put a green screen in front, and then they film 20, 30 seconds of green screen me looking around, and that's where everyone disappears in the street because they can take that out.
That's very cool.
Thank you.
One other element to that is typically we work with Jeff and Jen Woods. They're kind of the creators of the show, or whatever, director, producer. But we also work with different teams, especially when their other shows come in. And it's one way that Carl and I can get a pretty quick lay of the land of a new director, a new DP coming in. How long does it take them to shoot a Sherlock? Because Jeff and Jen and Dan can bang one out in 30 minutes, and we're done. Other crews have taken decidedly longer.
And most of the time we have to tell them how to shoot it. Because I can't tell you how many times I'm like, don't do that. You're going to get in trouble. You're going to get in trouble. You're going to get a call from New York if you shoot it that way. Trust me, I've done 100 of these. I know how they're done. I can shoot it myself, honestly, right now.
Over here at 2 o'clock, when you're mentioning a perpetrator's name on an episode like Mike Murphy, is that their real names, and do you have to get permission to use them?
They don't need permission so much, and they do use a lot of the real names. I know sometimes they do change them, I'm not sure why. I don't think there's anyone up here that can answer that question. Totally, you probably have to ask someone in production, higher up. But I know they do use a lot of the real names.
Yeah, I know one they actually did not was the Grace Todd in the episode with the eyeballs. Was not her real name. But someone like that might be out of jail and trying to create a new life for themselves, so they deserve their privacy, I guess.
And there have been lawsuits against the show, and ID's won every one of them, but it's usually a guy suing from prison. It's a waste of money.
We have a question up here at 11 o'clock.
Hi, Carl. The typical career path for a police officer is not usually to model/actor. How did you make that transition? Wow.
That's, I like to ask Jason said something. You move to California, they give you your SAG card. That's how it works. No, it doesn't work that way. I was very fortunate. Right place, right time. Again, I'm an actor because of Craigslist. Isn't that the traditional way to go?
I want to follow up whatever he said.
And I know it's not that way. I know people, friends of mine, have been trying to get their SAG card for 20 years. It's not because they're not good actors, they just haven't had the right opportunity. A lot of times it's just being in the right place at the right time, and I was in the right place at the right time. I did what I was told. That has a lot to do with it too. A lot of people that are on set that think they're bigger and better than TAs on set and things like that, and then they wonder why they never get called back to the show because you didn't do what you were told. If they tell you to be somewhere, be there. If they tell you to be early, be early. Do what you're told. Keep quiet. Do your job. Because if you're doing your job, they can do their job. But yes, it's definitely not a standard career path.
Let me tell you the truth. I was a cop for 7 years, and I was undercover narcotics is what I did. That and SWAT team. And so I decided I wanted to be a stuntman since I was a little kid. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to get into it. I didn't know anyone in the business. So by the time I really started applying myself to make that dream come true, I talked to every single person that I could find that could help me, that knew how to do it, that had done it. And when I said I spent the first decade or more spending more money than I made, my wife is sitting right there. Am I lying? Not at all. That's very true. I worked hard. So when I met Carl, the very first time that I worked on one of the episodes of Homicide Hunter, coordinating the stunts with a big fight, we were in the studio, and we're talking, and Jen Woods, the producer, says, yeah, he's an actor from California, he's coming in. I'm thinking he's going to be a real actor. No, he's a cop. That answered a Craigslist ad. His mission for a completely other TV show, and it's so freaking pretty. And they wanted to move him up front, and then decided, well, let's give him a line. But when they give you a line, now they have to bump up your pay. You're no longer an extra in the background, you're an actor. And then that wasn't enough. He became a regular character on the show. Which is, I mean, he knows I'm doing good for him. I love him to death. But that is not how it goes. So don't ever listen to Carl Marino's advice on how to become an actor after reading law enforcement. It doesn't work. Unless you look like that. Thank you. But my story is true. It is possible. So there is a chance.
Yeah, my question's for Carl. At what point during the filming did you realize, or during the seasons, did you realize, oh wow, this has turned into something, we've made it?
It took a while. We were just finishing up season 1 in Los Angeles, and I remember looking at the director, I'm wondering, what am I going to do after this? Is there going to be a season 2? He's like, probably not. Because I don't think they got like about 9 more cases that they could even make episodes out of. So another part of the reason why they're not filming in Los Angeles and that director's not our director is because of that answer. Before it's like to see 102 episodes later that, yeah, it's going to get a few more seasons.
Yes.
But yeah, even after the first season, I mean, it seemed like there was a buzz about it. And it was a little bit different than the other ID shows. It was shot a little bit better. And once season 2 came, it was shot even better. And that's when I started seeing, hundreds of friend requests on Facebook and stuff. It's like people start understanding, not just Joe, but who's this guy that plays it? And it's like, well, this is kind of a cool thing. And I'd say season 3 to season 4 is when I realized this is getting pretty huge, And then when they put a Kenda Cruise together, I realized, oh, this is really big. People are willing to pay money to go on vacation with Joe and I, all our friends and family.
Okay, we have one more question here in the back.
Yeah, hey Carl, how did they come up with, or how did you come up with, So What Do We Got?
That's kind of an homage back to MIP Blue. Sid Woods would always say that when he walked up to it. That's one of my favorite police shows. If you haven't ever watched it, it's still worth seeing because it's still old water today as far as the production and everything else. It's a great show. I actually made her watch it every episode of it. But I just remember him saying, it's what you would say. I mean, it was kind of a natural thing to just walk up and say it and just cut through the bull crap and just, so what do we got? And then they answer. And now, it doesn't matter what the screenwriters write in the script. I just cross that off. And say, no, I'm not going to say, so what's going on here today? And I think they finally gave up because the last few scripts I was getting, it said, so what do we got? It's like, he's going to say it anyway, let's just write it in there.
Hang on just a minute, I'm right behind you.
This is what's called dead air.
May I ask a question that's not to girl?
Of course. Please. Thank you.
Corey, I was yes?
Cody.
Cody!
I'll answer anything, it's fine.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
You have so many different projects going. You seem to be like a self-motivated entrepreneur. You have an album coming out and all that. And like everybody on the cast, you look so young. How old are you?
I'm 25. Yeah, I look like I'm 12, it's fine. I'll take that. I can play younger.
We're the same age.
I know that. Got one more over here. On your left.
So for whoever wants to answer this, why doesn't any of the shows on Discovery ID list the actor credits at the end of the show?
Well, I do know the answer to that because I had to force them to put my name on it. And it took till like season 3, I think, maybe, where I finally said, it's like, listen, you know, I'm your longest running actor on an ID show. Please put my name in the credits. Well, we normally don't do that. I guess we can though. So it's just that's just our policy. They just don't do that. You know, it's very rare. Every once in a while you will see an episode that they'll name like one of the main characters, but it's just kind of one of their things.
All the way on the right.
My question's for Alona and or Carl. I know you guys live in California, I'm over here, but you shoot in Knoxville most every week, so do you go every week, or how do you manage your relationship with that kind of travel?
So yeah, it's every other week. The producer and production, they're really great about flying out there because they know it's hard on us, but I fly out there as much as I can. It's not all the time, but when he is coming home.
I basically fly cross country one way or the other every weekend for 9 months. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, my suitcase never leaves the living room, and it's 2 full flight days a week because there's no direct flights from Knoxville to San Francisco. So it gets tedious. I mean, I'm definitely not complaining. You know, not at all. Don't ever think that. But it's, you know, it is hard on a relationship. Obviously, it's, you know, I'm away for that long and stuff. But she has a real job, so, you know, someone's got to make the money in the family. But we work it out, and, you know, and then she gets to come visit and we throw her on the show, so it's fun. And honestly, I have to thank her more than anyone, and maybe you guys have to thank her too if you enjoy my performance on the show, because and Jim alluded to it earlier, I almost didn't audition for that part. And the story behind that is, you know, I live in San Francisco, it's a 6.5-hour drive, sometimes it's more than that, to Los Angeles. So when you want to audition for something in Los Angeles, there's usually a process of a callback, where they like you, they let you back in, but they don't ever tell you they're going to do that or not do that. You have to wait for the phone call. And sometimes it's 2 days later, sometimes it's the next day, sometimes it's the actual same day. But it could be a week later. And then you have to make up your mind, do I want to spend money to get a hotel and stay? Do I drive 6.5 hours back and just wait and come back and everything? But you know, I was reading the specs and I'm like, man, I fit that part pretty well. That's a pretty good one. And she's like, just do it. We'll figure it out as far as travel goes and everything else. Just do it. I was lucky enough they let me do a video chat audition type thing to start with before I ever had to go to Los Angeles, so it worked out well. And the whole other thing is, if you submit for something in Los Angeles, you know 10,000 other people that look exactly like you submitted for it also. And so it's kind of a daunting thing, where it's like, I can waste my time going down there. It can be frustrating. Jason knows, and Andrew, how that works as far as the rejection part of acting, which there's a lot of that. And you get used to that. You get very thick skin. So, but if it wasn't for Alone, I never would have done it. I've been watching this Homicide Hunter show going, that's a pretty good show. Maybe we should check out that cruise.
I'd like to tag on to their comments to the guest that asked the question about traveling. If you follow Carl on Facebook, you'll see the airplanes going back and forth. And Carl posts a lot about what he does. He even posts a lot of pictures of his beautiful wife, and he makes her sit there and pose for the picture and pretend that it's just a picture when it's actually a video. So they do a lot of posting on Facebook. So if you follow them, you'll learn a lot.
And we post a lot of behind-the-scenes pictures, which Jim usually takes and puts them on the Homicide Hunter groups. He has Homicide Hunter regular group and the Homicide Hunter discussion group. So if you do follow those, you can see a lot of the behind-the-scenes pictures. I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of them this year because, you know, it's a good chance it could be our last season. No one knows what's going to bring. No. But, you know, It might not, I'm just saying it could be. It always could be. And as an actor, you always think it is. You always make the assumption that this is our last season. Let's start looking past that. But you know, it's been a fantastic run. I mean, there'll be no shortage of murder and homicide shows because people are still going to keep doing bad things. You're going to have plenty of other stuff to watch.
So I have you made the comment that Ilona has a real job. What might that be, or can you share that with us?
Well, she works for a private equity company. She supports the CEO of the company.
Okay.
It's,
See, I just thought she acted on your show.
No.
And did a fine job at it.
I think we have time for one more question.
I got one.
Or two more. We'll do these two right here, and then we'll wrap it up. Two.
Hi guys. My question was, so is there any talks for a movie maybe? Be nice to see a movie with you guys.
Well, let them know.
I will.
Well, that's up to you guys.
We will, right?
I mean, I mean it. A lot of that is up to you guys. The more people watch things, the more the network listens. I mean, they talked about it in the past and stuff, and I've never heard anything as far as concrete about it, but you know, I'm in, of course. Are you guys all right? You guys in? You guys want to be part of it?
Hey Carl, how are you guys? I have a question. The German Shepherds that you use on the show occasionally, are they rescue dogs? Are they real police dogs?
Well, they're real police dogs. Yeah, all the officers you see on the show, and I should probably address this. I know there's 5 people in here. And we actually had several of the officers here last year. They just couldn't make this one just due to life obligations. But every police officer on the show is a Knoxville police officer, or a county sheriff, or somewhere in the Knoxville area. All the firemen you see are real firemen. All the paramedics are real paramedics. There's a company called 50 Entertainment, which I think you should follow on Facebook as well, that basically whenever we need or any of the show needs, you know, we need 5 police officers and 2 paramedics for this day. They send out a text message to all the people who have signed up for that to see who's off from work and stuff. And they show up in their uniforms in their cars. So all the police cars are actually Knoxville, Tennessee police cars with Colorado Springs magnets. And we just give them a different shirt and a different badge, and then they're police officers. They have more acting experience than most of my friends in California.
All right, well, this is not the end of the conversation. It's actually kind of an icebreaker to begin a conversation with these wonderful actors. Give them a round of applause. There'll be a Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville tomorrow. If you buy them a margarita or something, they might tell you a little more stories that are a little more not fit for public forums like this. They all have a couple stories like that. But at least we've gotten kind of this icebreaker out of the way. And when I called everyone an actor, that's actually not true. This gentleman plays himself, Detective Shagman. He was played himself, you know, being interviewed. Did they have a reenactor being you on that episode, Shot Through the Heart?
They may have had a patrol guy on the scene. They did. It was Sean. It was one of the Knoxville police officers.
Okay, well, great. So we're going to take a 15-minute break, and then we'll come back and get to know Ann Irvin. So give these gentlemen and ladies a round of applause. Thank you. 3:45 because I have another activity in here, so we're going to get started right on time. Thank you for being here on time. And I could talk and say new things about this wonderful lady, but I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell you about herself, and then we'll turn it over to questions. Ladies and gentlemen, television reporter from Colorado, Ann Irvin.
You can tell he doesn't know me. If my kids were here, they'd say that's great. So I am, my actual given name, unfortunately, is Ann Irvin Jantel. The moral of the story, for those of you who have not done it, is do not change your name at 50. Like bad idea. If you're in broadcast, you work under the name you started. So if you're married when you start, you work under that name. I was single when I started broadcast in Irvin, which is an unfortunate name. It's my given name. so I stuck with that for 50 years. Let me tell you what circus it is. It changed it after that. So, Ann Urban is the name I still go by when I'm doing professional stuff, and it's my mother's fault that I have the other names. Quick synopsis just to get the whole little microscopic background thing. I'm running this, I feel like I've had a martini. So it's like very relaxing. My dad was a doc, my mom was a nurse. Grew up until I was from 5 to 14, a little bitty farming town in central Illinois called Fairbury. Less than 3,000 people. Does anybody know Fairbury? Holy moly, I'm still in touch with my friends in Fairbury. Good Lord. So the Ricketts and the Mortons and the Arnolds and the, it's like 20 German families, yeah. And I just talked to the Mortons the other night. So when I was 14, I would have been 1970, and believe it or not, this little bitty town of less than 2,000 people, 7 primary care docs. Where would you find this in a town of that size at this point in time? Nowhere. But the problem was, as the docs worked out, and they did because they still made house calls, my dad would drive. You know, there were times when he'd get home from his day at 2 in the morning and the phone would ring at 2:30 and he'd be off on another baby. He said, I'm going to die. I got to move to Denver. And so we did, which was a really wonderful thing. As a matter of fact, some of you guys have met my sweetheart, and we met when I was 15 and we moved to Weepers. And went to CU Boulder, majored in psych, that's what my bachelor's is in, which is actually strangely useful. But it was, at that point in time, if you wanted to go on in psychology, you had to get a master's in social work or a doctorate in psych, and I was just so sick of school. I was like, I need to figure out something else. And a friend of mine was doing an internship at the ABC in Denver, and he said, come do an internship. You'll like it. Just come shadow me for a day. So I go to this newsroom, and it's like, it's bedlam. I mean, there are people running everywhere, and there's noise, and the phones are ringing, the radios are going, people are editing tape, and they're telling horrible off-color jokes, and there are posters on the wall, and like, you can, all of it is like so adept, it can offend 2 simultaneous major groups, whether religious or ethnic at the same time. And I'm like, this is my face. And newsrooms are incredibly fun. The other part of it is, I just have always been a sucker for storytelling. There are a couple of really good storytellers in my family, one of them being my uncle, who was a forward observer in World War II at the age of 19 and lived. My dad was a pretty good storyteller. And the thing about news is, not only do you get to, you get to find out everything that's going on in your area. You know everything. If you stay on top of what you're supposed to be doing, you know what's going on with your government. You know what's going on with law enforcement. You know what's going on with the economics of the situation. You know all the wild stories that you're not supposed to know because they may or may not read the level of news. But it's really fun because it's like your place. You really feel involved. You belong very much. The addition is, and I found this absolutely fascinating, and I still do video. You can add pictures to the stories. And like the only way you could do that before the invention of videotape, essentially, or prior to that film, was by a book and an illustrator. And sometimes the tiniest picture, 2 or 3 frames, when someone has a certain facial expression or the wind is blowing across that wheat field, it adds a dimension to the story that you just can't create any other way. And so I just adored it and really enjoyed the people that I love. And there are most of them in newsrooms. Most of those are really, really likable people with good senses of humor. I will be honest and tell you that industry, probably a lot of you guys already know this, whether on the cop side or on the industry side, it also tends to attract some folks that might have wanted to be stars, whatever that is, and they wind up with management, and they are crazy. We kind of have all seen the fallout of this recently, right? And it's not necessarily just gender or sexual crazy, I mean, they're just nuts. So you have to put up with that element of it, but you know, you run across a good news director, or you run across a good producer, and the whole thing is so much fun. So I wound up in Colorado Springs. I've been in news for 10 years. My husband was in news also. We've been 5 years in St. Louis, and we had a particularly bloody year. We had until December 29th of 1991, not gone 3 days without a murder in the greater metro. And I mean, when I say murder, you would be awe-inspired at how people can think of murdering other people. It's remarkable. It's creative beyond the bounds of imagination, unfortunately. And I was close enough that I could walk to my station. Now, keep in mind, at this point, we had an 8-month-old baby and a 2-year-old. And I was doing the morning show. And so I would walk to work at 4, and then I'd be done with work, and I'd walk home at 8. On one of these days in late December, there was a woman who looked almost exactly like me, walking home on the same path, who was raped and killed at 8 in the morning. And Dan and I sat down, my husband and I sat down, and I said, I really want to move home. I don't want to do this anymore. And we lived in a fantastic part of the city. We lived in, it's called the Old West End. I mean, that's where Mick Jagger goes for lunch. But the problem with St. Louis is it's very, very industrial. So you're either in this little nucleus downtown, or you have to commute an hour out to Chesterfield in the outlying suburbs. And when you're working an 8, 9, 10, 11-hour day, throwing in those 2 extra hours, especially with little kids, is really hard. So he said, okay, you know, start job hunting. So I came up with this anchor job at the CBS in Colorado Springs. And one of my, for everyone in the station, because very skeletal staff, one of my jobs was to do beat calls. We all had certain beat call assignments. It means you call 5 places: fire stations, police stations, the jail. I can't think of the other 2 offhand, but typically those people are frequently working in the same shifts you are. And so one of mine was, at that point, the really rattiest substation we had, which was Sand Creek. And there was this guy, Lieutenant Joe Kenda, who just was such a smartass. At the very beginning, I'm new in town, right? I'm going to be polite to the officers. So I call, I introduce myself. Hello, my name is Andrew, and I'm the new anchor at Channel 11. Anything going on? He goes, anything going on? Do you speak English? And he's like, anything going on? I was like, all right, knock it off. Is anything going on or not? I mean, you can keep it a secret, but if you do, and like your station's burning down, or you just hauled in a truckload of bodies, you know I'm going to be over there, and we're going to get to know each other really quickly. And so from then on, we had this very bantering, teasing. I mean, he knew he had to rid me at the beginning of this whole thing, and it was funny because he does take it as well as he gives. And that was the entree, and very brief, to creating a friendship. And here's why. It's a quirky story, but My kids, so Joe and Kathy became friends and we'd swap barbecues and just had the normal friendship that you would have between semi-coworkers, lived kind of in the same part of town. When my kids were 5 and 7, my husband was severely brain injured in an accident on Pikes Peak. He fell 1,000 feet. He destroyed everything. He did live in the end. He lived, and I have to say for Dan, quick aside, but he only passed 2 years ago. And Dan, who could not walk, could not talk, had double vision, smashed on the top of his skull, broke vertebrae, smashed brachial plexus, down here, crushed his pelvis. Dan, Katie was 5. By the time Katie was 21, Dan had learned to walk again, talk again, reactivated his law degree, drove his Miata on the racetrack, and danced with his daughter at the debutante ball. So, when that happened, my mom was helping me out a lot. And I had 2 little kids and 2 jobs, and just, there's a term distinction in news. Despite the perception that news is like this hugely glamorous, well-paying job, I can tell you, this is how badly I wanted to move home. St. Louis, the big markets, the top 20, they pay well. They pay very well. And of course, you get into the networks, and those guys they're banked. I mean, they're good for life, right? And so this, moving to Colorado Springs was a real trade-off because I really wanted to be close to my family and I wanted to be in a calmer town, but there was never a year that I anchored in Colorado Springs that my kids did not qualify for reduced price lunches at school. Wow. I mean, you just don't make any money, which is why you work 2 jobs. So my mom was taking care of the kids after Dan crashed, and Joe and Kath called her, they knew her really well, and said, the reason I'm telling you this is because this is testimony to me to what kind of people they are. What does Dan need? And plenty of you have been in a situation where you've had a tragedy and you are so awash, and you need to act your thing. And you're just so overwhelmed. You can't even think of what to tell somebody. And my mother-in-law was the arborist. She said, she had just planted a bunch of new little trees, and they're not doing very well. So, my mom was a sweet, need I say more? And so, this is Joe and Kathy. They had this old horse that they kept as a pet. It was too old and lame to ride. So it just lived in their pasture. The next day, they showed up. They had rented a flatbed trailer from U-Haul, full of horse manure, and they put horse manure on the bottom of all of my trees, and they watered them. And I want you to know those trees in that little house are magnificent. So that was the beginning of the whole thing, and I guess the last, I'm hoping that Joe is around and getting pretty ready to come up. But the last thing I want to tell you has more to do with Joe professionally. Joe is always solid. I have to say, I worked across the country by the time I came home, and I had 6 or 7 police departments to compare to. Springs police were probably the best educated, the most professional, and the most respectful of any force I'd come across. I mean, they really were the cream of the crop. And there was still very much that kind of Western gentleman, even, I know a lot of these guys moved there from elsewhere, but that Western gentleman, honor your word, sort of deal. I can't tell you I ever had a bad experience with Colorado Springs cop. Joe, I have to say, and this is real testimony to professionalism, I can listen to Joe tell stories all day long. As a matter of fact, Dan and Kathy used to get sick of us. I mean, they'd go sit outside, and I'm a sucker for this stuff. I mean, like, there were stories that had happened before I moved to the Springs, which he is not going to tell as to the too bad. Because they're so lascivious. And Joe's got the gift, man. He's got the pipes, he's got the timing, he's got the fantastic sense of humor, and he's one of those people that he'll laugh at your jokes just like you will at his. You know, you get a real narcissist, and you can say something that you know is funny to them, and they're like, Joe, no. We will call each other, and the two of us will hang up in tears. We're laughing so hard. On the flip side, Joe never ever violated the honor of his profession. I may have been his friend. I may have been his, barbecue dinner party, really close friend of Mary Kathleen. He never ever, he would say to me things like, pay attention, because the report was going to come out. Or, you need to really focus on the details on this one. Or, don't follow the main line. And that was very helpful, but he never, ever divulged information that he should not have. And so it was just a wonderful working relationship. So I actually am going to tell you one more story before he comes up. The first time we met, being new to town, and I had a really great co-anchor at the time, I said, I talk to these people on beat calls, and we see these people when we go interview them, in the mayor and our Congress people and so on and so forth. I said, Craig, let's ask these people to go have a drink. And he said, Craig was a great guy. And he said, okay, I'm game. So I figured, I'm going to move my point wherever we safe doing this. And so there was a very central bar downtown, one of the big hotels, and the mayor came, and Joe came, a couple of the congressmen came, and actually there's one more story I'm going to tell you. And so Joe shows up, and Joe has a little scar, or he did, he might have had that thing up on his nose. Now, is it still there? Yeah. Okay, so the backstory of this is, I had a sitting co-anchor that I adored, but he shows up, and he's attractive man, but much all about it. And he shows up one day, and he's got this big Band-Aid across his nose, and I said, what happened to your nose? And he sort of stood back and went, barfing. It doesn't seem like you at all. So his wife comes in and I said, what happened to Richard's nose? She goes, oh, the Shih Tzu bit him. And it fits much better. So I love Joe because he's got that little scar like the Harry Potter deal. And I said, did you get a bar fight? He goes, oh no, I had sun cancer. Skin cancer. I was like, oh, this guy's actually honest. Okay, so the last story I will tell you before I ask Joe to please come join me is reporters have to interrupt. It is one of the skills you must develop. And if you've ever listened to a Sunday morning talk show with a politician, you will understand why. Because, like, I swear to God, they've got some kind of, like, tube in their back that allows them to take in oxygen. And they may or may not answer any question that anyone's asked them, but they're going to make sure you ever know, everything that's ever been good about them, you need to know. And the problem is, when you're on set with somebody like that, or even if you're just interviewing in person, you have to be able to cut them off. You have to be able to cut them off if you're interviewing in person, because otherwise you're going to wind up with an hour of tape to go through, which is going to kill you when you get back and you're trying to get your story on out air. If you are on set, it is misery because you've got an IFB, the little thing that goes in your ear, and you literally have a producer shrieking at you. 10, 9, 8, cut him off! And I mean, to the point, they want you not to be able to do anything else. You'll see Amber's eyes going out. It's not if you ever see, every once in a while, you'll see this where either there's a story going on that the anchor actually feels is important to end, or the anchor is just so sick of having this person shriek in their ear. They will pop that little deal out. You'll see it fall to their shoulder, which is to the control room. I'm done. I'm running the show now. I'm the one on the set. So here's the deal with this. Skip Arms, who's on our show, right? Also a cop, yes? Cops hate to be interrupted. I hear some cops. So Skip and I are running. We've been running for 10 years. We're running down this trail in Colorado Springs, and mind the trail, there's a stream down the middle of it, and I swear to God, we're running, and there is a moose in the trail. Now this is atypical for Colorado Springs. We have lots of bears. Deer coming out of ears, the occasional one. I've never seen a moose. And we're running, and Skip is in the middle of the story. And it's a pretty good story. But he's telling, and I'm like, hey! And he won't stop. And we're getting closer. I'm like, hey! He won't stop. Hey! And he goes, what? And I said, is that a moose? And he goes, yeah. Right back into the story. So my version of this was Joe, and this is my last. Before we do a case, I always call, because the case files will be 300-400 pages long. They're long, they go, all you guys are long. They're written by different people at different times, things have changed, they contradict each other, the timelines don't necessarily match, you'll have a red herring person show up. And so we always call because there are always things on which I have questions, and I also want to hear what he feels is most important, and we'll compare notes. So there was one, the case actually that I get to talk to Larry about also, we had Brett Holloway, where we had a deputy murdered who was watching a cabin that had been set on fire. I was really involved in that case, and for actually longer than I should have been because of work. But I wanted to tell Joe this, and Joe was tired. They'd been traveling, and he'd been doing stuff with IT. Be in a hurry, and see just generally shorter on occasions than Joe generally is, which is not long. So we're in the middle of, and I should have known, because if I waited, Joe will always let me talk at the end, but I really wanted to make a point of this. And so I kept trying to interrupt him, because there was a point at which I knew something that I know he didn't know. And so I kept trying to interrupt him, I was like, yeah. Finally he goes, listen to me! Got it. Okay, where's Joseph?
Okay, well, actually, before we call up Lieutenant Kenda, we just want to spend just a very few minutes to see if anyone has any questions for Ann while she's by herself. Does anyone have any questions about for Ann? Okay, this.
You have the most lovely smile.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I can talk pretty loud.
Yeah, just
Well, they fixed that, and yeah, of course, we enjoy watching you on the show. And I noticed now, recently, they've started showing some of the actual clips with Joe in them. Are there going to be any clips left that didn't get recorded over that may have you and Joe in them?
Man, Joseph, I don't know. This is where it gets dicey. The newsrooms have switched format on which they record video and pictures 3 times. So it was beta when I first came, then it was DVC Pro, and now it's digital. And the newsrooms were never well organized. Now in St. Louis they are, in the big markets they are. They'll have those archives going back 40, 50 years, in large part for legal reasons. But in Colorado Springs, it was like the kids that run the archive system, they're in and out of there in 6 months. And so one of the big problems is a lot of that stuff, like I know, I'm going to say names, well, I won't name names. One of the stations, when they switched to the latest format, which is, chip, it's digital, they just took all those tapes and trashed them.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I don't know, Joe, do you know? Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. They're very hard to find. As a matter of fact, I did a 7 stint at the